Hello world! There's been a disturbing rise in Telegram bots, which claim they're able to dox anyone. All it takes is something as basic as someone's name and state, or just their phone number, and the bot will locate their address, identify their relatives, uncover their driving license information, and a hell of a lot more, all for just $15. But before we go any further, I just want to speak briefly to the YouTube mods and the people that clicked on this video expecting some kind of a tutorial. This isn't that, sorry to disappoint you. I just want to know, how is this possible? What kind of people are using these tools? And can you even stop yourself from becoming a victim? Because chances are you are vulnerable to these Telegram bots. If you have a credit card, or if you've paid a utility bill, rented an apartment, or taken out a phone contract, then credit bureaus, companies like Experian, Equifax and TransUnion, are going to have a credit file on you, which is where these Telegram bots often get their information from. Well, kinda, it's complicated. So your credit file contains details on your bank accounts and your debt, which credit bureaus of course feed into their voodoo algorithm to come up with your credit score. But the bit we're interested in is right at the top. It's called a credit header. It contains your name, all the addresses you've ever lived at, social security number, your date of birth, and even your relatives. It's often pretty extensive, and the bad news is that whilst there are some pretty strong laws regulating who can access the financial part of the file, when it comes to the credit header, not so much. Which has led to credit bureaus monetizing these juicy morsels of information in the form of tools like TLOXP, which is owned by TransUnion, one of the largest credit bureaus in America.
TLOXP's Advanced People Search function is the best way to initiate a search on any given subject. It features advanced query capabilities, allowing you to search by name, address, community, date range seen at an address, date of birth, age range, email, or even a partial social security number. The more data you plug in, the more targeted your search results, and it doesn't take much to get started. When you find your subject, you'll get our available comprehensive information, items such as contact data, including possible phone numbers ranked by the projected usefulness of each number, and information on possible relatives and associates.
Pretty dystopian, right? But there is a shred of good news. Thankfully, it's not like just anyone can sign up for and access tools like TLOXP. These things are only available to certain industries like insurance companies and law enforcement agencies. But of course, cybercriminals often have a habit of finding a way around the rules. How? Well, 404 Media recently ran an investigation on this. They found that one such tool, DataTrack, was accessed after someone stole the identity of a former law enforcement officer and private investigator. I have a hunch they were probably just phished. But regardless, you think that to give someone access to a godlike doxing tool, regardless of who they say they are, would require some kind of in-person verification, other than just filling out forms on the internet. Well, DataTrack said that at the time of the criminal gaining access, the company only performed remote confirmation. I'm guessing this is probably just a case of COVID being used as an excuse to suspend their usual checks. Once a bad guy has gained access to a tool like TLOXP, they'll either monetize it themselves, like in the case of the Free Bands Gang, a group of wannabe rappers of which some of their members made millions of dollars through identity theft using TLO. Other cybercriminals will opt to create some kind of doxing as a service tool, like in the case of these Telegram bots, which they'll then advertise in Telegram groups which are, shall we say, less than wholesome. I think it's a bad idea to point out the specific groups I've seen, but to give you a flavour, other than just doxing, the groups focus heavily on swatting, with some users even advertising their own swatting services that kids can use to shut down their schools. And this is a whole problem in of itself. Nowadays the bad guys are using AI-generated voices, and will often publicly post the recordings for clout.
Hello! I just committed a crime and I want to confess.
You did a crime and you want to confess?
I placed explosives in a local school.
You did what?
It's also quite common for these kinds of Telegram groups to deal in physical violence. You might not have heard of it before, but violence as a service is a thing, with competing cybercrime groups hiring people to put bricks through the windows of their rivals' homes. And just like with the swatting, the perpetrators often record and post evidence of it to boost their reputation. So yeah, I think you get the idea. These Telegram groups are like if you took a Modern Warfare 2 lobby from back in the day, but gave everyone in it the ability to dox, swat and put bricks through each other's windows. It's all really pretty grim. However, luckily these groups aren't all that easy to find. You can't just Google this stuff. A good portion of them are invite only. But it's not just depraved Telegram groups which have a use for doxing tools, there's also foreign intelligence agencies. I mean, if you're a Chinese government spy who's tasked with hunting someone down, why go to the effort of trying to do that yourself, when you can just hire a US-based private investigator who already has access to godlike doxing tools? And back in March, the FBI warned that this is happening, with one case involving Iranian intelligence trying to kidnap a critic of their regime, and there was also a case of an illegal agent of the Chinese government trying to do something similar. So at this point, I think you're probably convinced that you'd rather not be in these databases, so what can be done? Firstly, this all seems to be mainly a US problem. I haven't seen any Telegram bots selling access to the data of Europeans, probably due to our more stringent data protection laws. But for our American friends, there is good news. Maybe. The government agency tasked with regulating all of this stuff early this year launched an investigation into what's going on with data brokers. Whether that'll lead to meaningful changes, who knows? But in the meantime, there are services that claim to be able to remove you from a good chunk of people finder tools, but these really just can't do anything about the root of the problem, the credit headers themselves. If you want to read more about how easily doxable you are and why there isn't much you can do about it, I'll leave a link to 404 Media's article in the description. Their investigation is what turned me on to all of this, so I highly recommend you give it a read. But as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.